SAfm, South Africa's news and information leader.
Thank you very much. In your top stories at 1 o'clock, a court victory for Helen Zille and the King of the Jungle roams the streets of Ulundi. Good afternoon. Western Cape High Court Judge Nathan Erasmus has granted DA leader Helen Zille an order to compel the ANC Youth League and 3 of its members to comply with court procedures. The judge has also granted punitive costs that have to be paid by the 4 defendants for today's application. Zille is suing the ANC Youth League, its national spokesperson Floyd Shibambu, Western Cape provincial leader Andile Lili and Julius Malema for 350,000 rands each in a defamation lawsuit. Mercedes Besant reports.
Judge Nathan Erasmus has ordered that Malema, Shibambu, Lili and the ANC Youth League should file the necessary documents by the 24th of April in preparation for the defamation lawsuit trial. The 4 defendants will also be required to appoint an address where further court documents will be served on them. In addition, Judge Erasmus granted an order that punitive costs be paid by the 4 defendants because of failing to comply with the court procedures. The judge also made remarks that Floyd Shibambu is in the news every day, that Julius Malema was at a church, and that Andile Lili is a councillor in the city of Cape Town who recently responded in the media. Mercedes Besant, SABC News at the Western Cape High Court.
A lawyer for former crime intelligence boss Richard Mdluli has failed to convince the Boksburg Magistrates Court on Gauteng's East Rand as to why the case should be postponed. This as inquest proceedings into the murder of Opa Mugabe got underway. The murder case relates to the 1999 incident in which Mdluli allegedly masterminded the murder of Mugabe, his alleged love rival. Mdluli's lawyer, Ike Mutloung, says the former crime intelligence boss is still awaiting a response on his application for the state to fund his case. The magistrate has ordered that the case proceed, saying the matter has been going on for a long time. The magistrate says 7 witnesses have been placed on witness protection programs and that their needs and protection costs need to be considered. Criminal charges against Mdluli and his co-accused, Samuel Dlomo, Sebastian Klimba, and Mtuzi Umhle Mtembeni Mtunzi, were provisionally withdrawn in February pending the outcome of an inquest proceeding. Basic Education Minister Angie Motshekga says over 18,000 schools in the country are in need of refurbishment and additional facilities such as laboratories and sports grounds. She was speaking at the launch of the 94 Schools project for former President Nelson Mandela in Houghton, Johannesburg. The project aims to revamp 94 schools situated in the poorest communities across the country. It's also a unique way to celebrate Madiba's 94th birthday this year while leaving a permanent mark in the school infrastructure. A lion has escaped from its enclosure and is roaming the streets of Ulundi in northern KwaZulu-Natal. The lion escaped from its enclosure in the early hours of this morning. Izimvelo, KZN wildlife spokesperson Musa Mtambo, says it's not clear how the lion escaped. Mtambo is appealing to members of the community who might spot the lion not to approach it or to aggravate the animal in any way. He says their members are working hard to track it down.
Between 1 and 2 a.m. this morning, there was a sighting of a lion by Sergeant Mr. Simon Chebe between Intibane Lodge and Opate Game Reserve along Kintin Zulu Highway in Ulundi. So we request maybe say people who might be around that area, if they see this lion, not maybe say to try and do anything to it. But currently our officials are busy following the tracks of this lion.
Anyone who spots the lion can contact Jabulani Biela on 082 708 8860 or 071 184 6173. The Zimbabwean government has dismissed reports that President Robert Mugabe is very ill and fighting for his life in a Singapore hospital. The ruling party, ZANU-PF, says Mugabe will return tomorrow from Asia. Australia's Sydney Morning Herald earlier reported that Mugabe is critically ill in hospital with his wife and close family by his bedside and struck an agreement to hand power to his defense minister, Emmerson Mnangagwa. the alarm was raised when the government postponed a cabinet meeting. One of the ZANU-PF's advisors, Chris Mutvangwa.
It's absolutely nonsense. There's absolute rubbish. There's no substance in that story. It is the usual anti-Mugabe frenzy which has reached the level of dementia. And another extradition picked it from Australia, and then the next thing, caters of the digital world. The stories flash all over the world. There's no substance to the story. Tomorrow the president will be coming back to Zimbabwe after his holidays like anybody else. This was holiday time and nothing more, nothing less.
Lastly, Malaysia has announced a new security law that will end the government's power to detain people indefinitely without trial. Prime Minister Najib Razak described it as a historic day for Malaysia.